All right, here we are on chapter 36, which is Nationalism and Political Identities in Asia, Africa, and Latin America. And we're working on the second heading here, which is Africa under colonial domination. One of the big things to note is that both the Great War and the Great Depression really is just delaying the inevitable. There's already some freedom movements trying to rise up in Africa, but both the Great War and Depression are going to kind of slow those down for a bit. We're going to learn about their involvement in the Great War, and also we're going to know about a lot about European economic imperialization. So one of the things to note is that when it comes to Africa and the Great War, they were affected in many ways. One of which meant that, well, one of the first things to note is that the Great War just wasn't in Europe. It was in other parts of the war as well. And so what happened is when you take a look at the different sides, you basically had one side with Great Britain, France, Belgium, Italy, and Portugal. And on the other side, you had Germany. Those were the powers that were colonizing in Africa at the time, essentially. So what ended up happening was that the German forces were really beat down. So what's going to end up happening is that the Germans, basically using guerrilla warfare, are going to be able to hold on. There's going to, which in some ways is incredible. Some 15,000 troops tied 60,000 Allied forces down and postponed defeat until the last days of the war. So that's what's happening on the African continent. Now, what makes it even more interesting is that over 1 million African soldiers participated directly in military campaigns. And so that meant sometimes it was in Africa, sometimes it was in Southwest Asia, and sometimes it was even on the western front of Europe. Now, what made that interesting is that you've got to realize is that they've gone through generations to, 2, 3, 4, depending on how long they've been a colony, of essentially the white man enforcing superiority over Africans. And so again, part of what is like literally beaten in to Africans in the colonies is you do not fight, you do not stand up against the white man. And then here they are being trained by the white man to kill other white men. And so what's going to end up happening is that the European colonialists are going to demand soldiers. So there's basically 3 ways that they're going to get them: purely on a voluntary basis, basically taxes or head taxes given to African chiefs, or sometimes just formal conscription or formal drafts. So one of the things that's going to end up happening is these people are going to go to these different fronts and see and be trained on how to fight and destroy white people. So the illusion of European superiority is really going to be shown to be just the illusion that it is. One of the other things that's going to happen is that because of the war, what's going to happen is that European dominance is going to start to hurt in Africa. There's several reasons, as we see here. The commercial and administrative personnel began to leave the colonies in large numbers, whether for combat in Europe or for enlistment, locally based units for campaigns in Africa. So this is going to make the European presence even thinner, and that is going to help encourage, independence movements. So we see them happening here in Libya. We see them happening in Kenya and throughout. And we'll get more into that in a future subheading. See you soon.